When you drive by certain people's houses, you know exactly who that is, whether it's the good part or the bad part, and there is a division. So you're going to tell me that when the officer went to the man's home and said, we're going to get the green Charger, he didn't know the green Charger belonged to Kyren Lacy? The accident happened in December. LSU didn't play his last game till the end of December. The accident happened around December 17th. Sounds like Kyren Lacy went the hour's drive from Baton Rouge to Thibodaux. Probably could be 45 minutes depending on where in Thibodaux. He took the drive seemingly from LSU to go home. It was 10 o'clock in the morning. If you saw the video, people were going back and forth, looked like to work, driving about 30, 35 miles an hour, some 40. Then there was an accident. And then Kyren Lacy pulls up to the scene sometime afterwards. And all of this happens as he's getting ready for the NFL draft. Well, he's a top draft prospect, first round. In the NFL, because a warrant was issued for Lacy's arrest with fabricated information, revoked his combine invite. That had to be a dagger in his heart. I'm like, why would the NFL revoke his combine invite because he was accused? What happened to innocent until guilty? And let's talk about it. Obviously, up until these cameras popped up with video recently, after he's deceased, unfortunately, what did the NFL have to go on to revoke his combine invite? There was no video. He was accused of being at the scene of a vehicular homicide and he wasn't there. So how does the NFL feel now? Why didn't they err on the side of caution and allow him to go forward until some evidence came up? The NFL has lots of practice with its players being accused of things. Quinshon Judkins was accused and he was cleared, and the NFL still wanted to investigate. I mean, damn, if the DA said it ain't nothing, it ain't nothing. This case was, from the outside looking in, mismanaged, but I don't see incompetence. See, some people see incompetence. Was it really incompetence to go to the home of a black man in a town while you wearing your badge? You go to this man's home, they obviously don't have much. 44,000 is the average, and they might not make that. And you're white, you show up with your badge in this town, the rule of the law, and you put down a piece of paper and a pen and say, talk about how you had to screech on your brakes and how you had to come to a hard stop because of the green Charger. Understand, in Thibodaux, they knew who this Charger belonged to. You don't live in a town like that. And they only have $44,000 on average income, which means depressed. And this come rolling through. Oh, and he's from here. Oh, that's Kyren Lacy. You're not going to tell me when they went looking for the green Charger, they didn't know they was looking for Kyren Lacy. You ain't going to tell me that. You're not going to tell me that. Maybe you didn't know on December 17th that was Kyren Lacy. But in a town like that, where all the cars are basic, white, blue, whatever they got down at the Ford dealership or the Kia dealership, the most inexpensive models, they don't have no lime green Dodge Chargers just running around there. It might be 2, it might be 3, but you know who each one belonged to based on the rims on that car. You know, based on it got a sunroof or not. In this small town, when they said we're going to get the green Charger, why are you trying to get a car that wasn't at the scene, that pulled up after the scene? Why would you manufacture a police report to get a warrant? The same happened to Breonna Taylor. So the NFL, being all educated and lawyered up, what should know? Yeah, it's possible that, this didn't happen like this. So let's just err on the side of caution, let him go on with his combine. Why did they feel the need to revoke his combine invite? Now, mind you, this is the same draft that Shedeur Sanders is in. And we saw how Shedeur Sanders was treated. And we already heard the audio The NFL didn't want quarterbacks like Shedeur Sanders. And I said, well, why the hell did they invite him? Well, hell, they had already disinvited Kyren Lacy. Is there something about Kyren Lacy and Shedeur Sanders that the NFL didn't want? So they were quick to revoke Kyren Lacy's invite? If this young man were still alive, then maybe they'd give him another opportunity. But to not give him the benefit of the doubt of innocence, you didn't have to assume he was set up, but you didn't have to assume he was guilty either. And that's suspicious. It's questionable as to why the NFL, knowing what it means for these players to get to the NFL, would revoke his combine invite, which is ostracizing him and assuming he's guilty. Talking about he has legal troubles. No, he's innocent. And he was framed. And he wasn't there. Maybe if people would have led with the lead story that he wasn't there, people would ask, well, how the hell did he get dragged into it? Good question. Because it's given Tyree Nichols. It's given Tyree Nichols. Not to the same full-blown extent, but waiting for an opportunity to get the green Dodge Charger is what is given. That's what is given. Now, he was 120 yards away. And he pulled up to the scene after the accident had occurred. Then he went around the accident and went to look like to turn left to go home. And the police report was falsified to get the warrant. Why? And the NFL revoked its combine invite. Why? In the same combine, the NFL that Shedeur got also defamed, which means slandered. So Kyren Lacy got slandered, had his combine invoked. Shedeur Sanders got slandered and was taken off the draft boards because he was supposedly entitled with absolutely no evidence. But the NFL did not err on the side of caution. And people want to compare the NFL to a typical corporation. Absolutely not. Absolutely not. A corporation wouldn't have revoked an invite for Kyren Lacy, one of its supposedly its own. Which was the beginning of the end for that young man. The NFL contributed to him taking his own life, starting the downward spiral that everything he had worked for in his young life was being snatched away from him, and he was falsely accused and staring down the barrel of 5 to 30 years for a felony vehicular homicide, hit and run, and he wasn't even there. And nobody gave him the benefit of the doubt, but they used it to deprive him of what he worked so hard for. Why? Why the rush to take him out of the combine? The accident was in December. He was arrested January 17th. When was the combine? Falsified a report to get a warrant to blame somebody who wasn't even there. Gives the appearance that it was a setup. He wasn't there. Why do I want to get the green Charger if he wasn't there? This is Kyren Lacy's page on X. Of course, people were coming at him about what happened. He had a very upbeat, positive attitude. But maybe the weight of it just got to be too much. Kyren Lacy, trust the process, February 2nd. I feel like the combine was around February 22nd. Maybe going into like March 1st. Because the Shrine Bowl, because the playoffs all took place. And then after that, I feel like it was like February 27th through maybe March 1st or something like that. So this is February 2nd. It says in a statement released by Lacy's attorney, he said in part that he wishes to address the charges of negligent homicide and clarify the facts surrounding the tragic accident. And he's saying trust the process. Do y'all know that Kyren Lacy had a passenger in his car? You would think if somebody that was not on the scene of an accident when it occurred and they pull up to the accident has a passenger in the car, that the police would investigate and talk to that person. They did not. They did not. Why? You skipped the process. Kyren Lacy saying trust the process, but they didn't even use the process. They skipped the process. They bypassed the process.